Hello. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our new stationery set class. This is our inaugural class, the first time we're running it. So I appreciate you joining us this afternoon. We are going to be just going to give everybody kind of a chance to come in and get settled. If this is your first Cricut class, this is a webinar. My name is Kesley Anderson. I'm your Cricut coach for the afternoon. We have webinars a little bit different than a Zoom meeting. We have a Q&A section. So as we're going along, if you have a question, you can drop that in the Q&A section. So that's where you can let us know if you have any questions. I have my fabulous chat masters on the back end. So if you have questions, they will be able to answer it. And then I can also help answer those questions as we move along. So in today's class, you are going to make a set of stationery cards, and I'll show you. I have my cards right here. We're going to work on making our envelope envelope and then a simple folded card to go inside the envelope. So I do go over the supplies in the presentation, but if you need to go grab something from your stash, you're going to want to have a solid cardstock for your envelope, either a 65 or 80-pound weight, and then a printed, or you can use a solid cardstock too. I have printed cardstock that is printed on both sides and a little insert so I can write a note on there. And if we have time, I'm going to show you how to add an insert to your cards, to your envelope for your cards, but you'll be able to make a set of different cards and envelopes using your pattern paper. Very fun and cute. I will show you how to use a pen. If you have not used a pen yet, we'll work on adding some text to an envelope. And then also I'll show you how to use your stylus tool. This is if you're on an Explorer, you'll use a stylus tool. If you're on a Maker, you'll use a stylus tool or the stylus wheel. Either one will work. And if you're using a Cricut Joy, I'll show you a technique how to score your lines without having a stylus. And if you don't have a stylus, you'll learn there too. And then you'll just need some adhesive to put your envelope together and your insert in your card. This is a Zig two-way glue that is a liquid ballpoint pen of adhesive. I love this. It's great for small pieces and details. If you have a glue stick, you can use a glue stick, or if you have a tape runner, you can use your tape runner also. So those are the supplies you'll need. The first part of the class, I will do a slideshow presentation talking about cards in Design Space and how to find cards and really what cards and stationery is all about when you're using your Cricut machine and Design Space. So I invite you to grab your notebook, grab your pen, and be ready to write some notes. And then afterwards, we will go into Design Space and working together and then sending it over to your machine. So I know not everybody can create today with us. You might be at work in your cubicle watching this class. But when you get home, I know you're going to be excited to do the class. Now, this class is being recorded, and we will send you a recording of the class. Give us about 72 hours to get that recording to you. If you have questions after you get the recording or between the class and getting the recording, you can always email us at makewithus@cricut.com. Those questions come right in and we answer those questions for you. However we can answer those questions, we get that answer out to you. Let's see, I think that's everything I can think of. If I think of something else, I'll say it later. But why don't we go ahead and jump into the slide presentations. And our first question is from Ken asking, could I be more specific about the Zig two-way glue? So this is it's an EK Success brand Zig two-way glue. There are a few different ones. This one is the ballpoint squeeze and roll two-way glue. That's the one that is. And they'll probably put a link in the chat. You could get that at your local craft store, wherever you buy your craft supplies, and it's also available online. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm so excited for this class. Okay, so this is the Cricut stationery set custom cards. And there are 3 really easy steps to making your first card. Sorry, I feel like does my PowerPoint look okay? When my chat master
looks great on my end.
Okay, all right. Sorry, it looks weird on my end. Okay, so the first step to making a card using Design Space is designing your card or finding the card you want to use. So the design aspect of it is a quick search for a project or an image. You can upload your own design or start from scratch in Design Space. Step 2 is use your cutting machine to cut your cardstock and your pattern paper to make the cards and envelopes. And step 3 is just assembling the cutouts of your envelope and your card. So 3 very easy steps to making a stationery set. And again, this is a supply list. So we use 65 to 80 pound cardstock, and most pattern paper tends to be the 65 pound weight, where your double-sided and your solid core cardstock tends to be an 80 pound weight. So it'll be one or the other. I actually prefer to use the 65 pound cardstock on decorative cards. You can use 80 pounds. So if that's what you have, I think that's, we'd say either one in our supply list. But you can use the 65 pound folds a little bit easier, but you can use either weight. So whichever one you have. And if you have 8.5 by 11, you can do that, or 12 by 12, you can work with that. And then your scoring stylus or your scoring wheel, and then your paper adhesive. So how do you find a design to work with on a card? If you need to make a quick card, or you're just getting started in Design Space, you can do a search for a project. And the project search will give you completed cards that you can make quickly using the Make It button on the card itself. So when you click on a project card, or any project for that matter, the project pops up. And in the project page, you'll notice that it will tell you how big the finished size of the card is. And this is a little bit tricky, I've noticed, because sometimes the finished size is the size of a folded card, and then sometimes the finished size is the size of the complete, like the card open. So you just want to look at that, and then when you bring it into Design Space, it will tell you, you'll see how the size of the project. You'll get a description of the project, the materials you need, and a list of directions. Now, all of that is printable by clicking the print icon, and that will print out on your home computer. So sometimes if you're doing a card project that's a little bit more detailed and involves more steps, you might want to print out the instructions and have them on hand. When you go into your project, you'll see there's 2 icons here at the bottom of the screen. One says Customize and one says Make It. When you click on Customize, it will take you to your canvas, so you can change anything in the design that is changeable. So this design here, for example, if you brought this into your canvas, you might be able to change, instead of saying hello there, you could type in, get well soon card or happy birthday, and change the phrase on the card. But if you like the card just as it is and you're kind of in a hurry, you need to make it and go, you just click the Make It button and it goes right to your cut screen and you're ready to make the project. Excuse me. Now, if you're in Design Space and you didn't find a project, you want to have a little bit more control over your design, then you can do an image search. And an image search is a little bit different than the project search. The project is the finished card, and it might pull together a variety of images in one project, whereas the image is usually just the card or a few pieces of the card to make. So sometimes they're finished cards that are real simple, and sometimes there may be like 3 or 4 pieces to the card. With an image, you won't get the option to customize or make it. And also with an image, you won't get the step-by-step directions on how to make that card. And then, so this is like a closer look of what, if you do a search, pardon me, if you do a search for a specific card, like a birthday card or a get well soon card or something like that, you will find that using the keyword search, a variety of cards will show up for you within that search. Now, if you want to design from scratch, this requires building out your card using shapes. So usually I start with a rectangle shape as the base of my card, and then I do a lot of cutting and slicing and welding from that basic shape to create a card that I want. Now, one of the key parts to building out your own card is using the scoring shape to add score lines to the card or an envelope or any of the shapes on your canvas. So to add a score line onto a card, this would be a 10x7 rectangle. And then when folded, if there was a fold line right here, it would turn into a 5x7 card. If you go into your shapes, you'll notice on the left side, this straight line here. This really isn't a line shape. What it is a score line. So when you bring in the score line onto your canvas, you can make it the same length as your card, and that will put a score line onto your card. And you'll notice the score line is its own layer as well. So you have your rectangle shape, and then you have your score line. In order for your machine to put that score line right in the center of your card, you need to go down to the bottom here of your layers panel and select attach. And what that does is it attaches the score line to your card. Now, if attach is new, if you're a beginner at Design Space and attach is something new, you're not familiar with that, I want to encourage you to sign up for our 102 class, where we do a bit of a deeper dive on the layers panel, and we really talk about attach. Now, there's a new feature in Design Space where you have your shapes and your images. You can now search for a phrase. So when you select this icon on the left of your canvas that says phrases, the image, the Cricut Access Digital Library pops up of phrases. And this is just limited to phrases. You can do a keyword search to find a particular phrase, like a happy birthday or way to go, congratulations, graduate. Whatever type of phrase you might need, you can type that in and it'll sort of narrow down your search of Cricut Access images that are available. Now, when you find a phrase, you can bring that phrase onto your canvas and add it to your card. So this phrase here, this happy birthday phrase I brought on, it's actually a cut line. So if I were to add this to my card, each of these pieces would be cut out of cardstock. So I'd have the blue and then the red. But you can change that from a cut image to a draw image. And the way that you do that is select the layers that you want to work with. So you'd have to select them each individually. And you'll notice in your layers panel, it says that it's a basic cut. We want to change that basic cut to a draw. And to do that, you go to the your edit bar here. You click on the drop down menu where it says operation. You click on that drop down menu, and instead of having the basic cut operation, which it automatically is, you can change it to the pen option. So when you change it to the pen option, when you change it to the pen option, it will change that layer in your layers panel. And now you can change the pen color, or you can foil it if you wanted to, or deboss it if you wanted to. So one thing to keep in mind when you do change it from a cut line to a draw line, your pen follows the same path as the cutter would follow. So what that means is, while you look at this on my screen and you see that the word happy appears to be colored in, it really isn't colored in. There are spaces in the middle that you can just go back and touch up in this particular design, but the pen actually draws on the outside of this image because it follows the cut lines. So when you use the draw feature, just keep in mind that your pen will follow the path of the cut. And if we have time, I'll show you that when we go live into Design Space. Now, how do you add text? So maybe you really liked this happy birthday, but you wanted it in a different font, or you wanted to change it. So Krista, before I move on, Krista's asking a good question. Is it draw or pen? So it's the draw category, and you select pen. The whether you're using a pen or a foil tool or the scoring tool or deboss or engraving, if you're on a Maker 3, you have all those options. They all kind of use that same operation of draw. It just depends on which tool you put in your machine. So if you were to select foil, the foil is still a draw. You just would add the foil tool to your machine, and then it would follow that line and do a foil instead of a pen. So you're drawing with a pen, or you're drawing with a foil tip, or you're drawing with your engraver or your debosser. Now, when you want to add text, so let's say you wanted to change that happy birthday to a different font, or add your own font, or you wanted to address an envelope, you go into your design panel here, and you would select the text icon. Now, when you select the text icon, a box shows up, and this is actually changing. So some of you may have seen this change, some of you may not. When this comes up, you'll be able to edit right in the font box, in the text box, and you won't have this separate text box. So keep your eye out for that change in your design space. But right now you can edit in the text box, and when you add your text to your canvas, you'll notice that it may show up originally as a basic cut, and that's because your operation is set to basic cut and your font type is set to cut. The style of the font is a regular cut font. If you go into the font icon, let me show you where that is. If you click into the font icon here, when you click on that, all the list of fonts appear, and you can narrow down your search by using the filters icon. So you would want to filter your fonts by which fonts have a writing style. So you can choose the writing style, and that will tell you which fonts are specifically designed to work with a pen. Now you can also click on looking for only kern fonts, which tend to be more of a script font. So it gives you like a nice little flowy look. And you can search for system fonts, which are fonts that are already on your computer, or you could search for fonts that are part of the Cricut program. And so I just converted this font here to a writing style font. And you'll notice in my layers panel, it's changed it from a basic cut to a pen style font. And now I can write that onto my envelope. Now, just like the scoring line, we want to attach our text to the envelope so that when we send it over to our machine, we make sure that that card is, so we make sure that that text is written right on the card where you have it placed. So the Cricut offers a big selection of pen colors and pen types. So the most common is the fine point, the 0.4 millimeter for, like, I use that a lot for addressing my envelopes. But then there's an extra fine point, which is even a little bit more narrow. You have a gel type of pen, a glitter gel pen, you have markers, and there are even calligraphy pens that are 2 different widths. And the calligraphy pens are fun to practice with different types of fonts. I actually had a question the other day. Someone reached out to me and was like, how do I use that calligraphy pen? And we did a search and found some of the different fonts that work well with the calligraphy pen. Usually they're the cursive style fonts, work well with that. So when you add that text to your canvas, you can select the pen type in the edit bar up here at the top. Now, you do not have to select the pen type or the pen color. Really, what you put into your machine, it is the one that works. But I do notice if you change between the different styles of pen, you'll see the difference of the software will actually show you the different widths of the pen types. So right now I have this set at a 0.4 millimeter. If I were to go for like the marker, I would see that this was a bigger, it filled in a little bit bigger. So that's just a little something to think about. And then when you add your pen to your machine, you put the pen in the clamp A. So if you're on a Maker or an Explorer, you always put your pen in clamp A. And I actually put my pen cap on the end of my pen here so I don't lose it. If you're on a Cricut Joy, your pen, the Cricut Joy only has one one holder, device holder. So Cricut Joy does use a different pen style than on your Explorer or Maker, and you just put your pen in and then change it out and you put your blade back in. But here's some different examples of using different pens. So this top pink card was just written right on the envelope. The Ken and Lizzie was written on the craft sticker paper, which is really fun. And then Sent with Love was created on a sticker paper to put on the back of the envelope. And if you notice this love word, that was written with the calligraphy pen. So that's how it's a little bit thicker than you would anticipate it being. Now, when you're working on your cards, you can change the size of your card. The card we'll be working on today looks like this card here, and it comes in with the envelope, the card, and the card insert. Depending on which type of card size you want to make, you can change your card using these numbers. Now, I do have kind of a cheater way that I do it if I'm changing my size of my card. So it doesn't, I don't, if I'm making a card, not a Cricut Joy insert card, I don't have to fudge the size for that. But if I'm just making a set of stationery cards and I want to do them in a variety of different sizes, I can just change my sizes here. And we have a link to a PDF we're going to drop in the chat later at the end of the class that will give you, you can copy that, download that PDF, and it'll have the name and the type of card size with the inches and centimeters. So we'll pop that in later once we're done with this. So what I do is I create a rectangle that would represent the size of my folded card. And then I adjust my envelope so that my card will fit into that envelope. And usually when you adjust the envelope size, the card size will also follow. Since these two are grouped together already, I can just bring over one card, set it in the center of the envelope, and resize, keeping my proportions locked. And that way it changes both of them. So you see, I just put the A9 card here, which is the 5x7, and I change the size of it so the 5x7 card fits inside of it. If I wanted to make my folded card a little bit bigger, then I would ungroup these and resize the folded card and the insert together. Now, when you're ready to go ahead and cut your cards, what might happen is if your cards are in the same color, it may tell you that you need to cut it on a larger mat or a larger piece of paper than you're using. So since an A9 envelope is a pretty big envelope, I needed to use a 12x12 sheet of cardstock, and it added the insert onto the same card. I can separate that from these two cards and cut them individually on 12x12 by just clicking these three dots, that little circle with the three dots there, and moving that object to another card. So this is the card that we'll be making today. And I invite you to make 3, 2, 1, however many you want to make. So if you're ready, I'm going to stop sharing this. And if you guys, if somebody, one of my chat masters wouldn't mind dropping the link to that document in the chat, if anybody wants to grab that, so they have the different sizes, if they want to resize the card, they can use that to resize their card. So Tammy, we're going to send you a link to a PDF that you can grab, and that'll have all the sizes to it. I can go back in and share that screen. And if anybody wants to take a screenshot of it, you can do that. And then that way you have it. Let's see, here we go. Okay.
Hey, Kesley, before you move along, somebody had a great question.
Yes.
How does the calligraphy pen work as it stands straight up and down? Isn't only the tip connected, not the side for the larger part of the stroke?
Right. So it does, it doesn't give you a true calligraphy with the thick and the thin and that your hand would give you, but it does, depending on the font you use, you get the thin and the thicker lines. If you look at that love one, oops, let's see, where did I have that picture? This one here, you can see this isn't like a true calligraphy font, but it does give you a little bit of the thicker line and the thinner line. So your downstroke is a little bit thicker than your across stroke. Okay. And I haven't told you guys what card we'll be using yet. So we're going to get there. Be patient. We're going to get there. I promise. All right. So now I invite everybody to open up their design space and work with me. Let's go ahead and let me share my screen again. Let me see. Okay. Let me go back here. Okay, let me share my screen. I know it's exciting. This is a really fun project because you can really use the stationery set as a gift for yourself. You can have cards on hand. Like if your kids are always going to a birthday party and you don't have a card, you can have a set of cards ready to go. Okay, so if you came in and you're on a desktop, you come into your home screen like this, and you need to go ahead and set up for a new project. So we're going to go ahead and click new project, and this will give you a new canvas to work on. Now, from here, from our new canvas, we're going to first add an image to the canvas. So the first image we're going to add is the card, the folding card, and it's a whole set. So you know what, let me go back. So here's our canvas. The first thing we want to do is go to the design panel and click on the icon that says images. And this will take you to the Cricut Access Library here. Then from here, I want you to do a keyword search for folded card. And so type in the word folded card and hit enter. And you'll see you have a lot of options for folded card. But the one card we're looking for today is free. So you can go ahead and click on the free filter, and that should narrow down your results a bit. And depending on where it falls for you, this is the card we're looking for. I'm not sure if it'll be in everybody's third row. Obviously, if you've got your screen shorter, it'll be further down. It may look somewhere different on a mobile device. But if you can't find it, the icon number, the image number is a hashtag, the uppercase M, 31394080. And you have to make sure that you put in that hashtag and the uppercase M. So it is case sensitive to those alphabets. Once you found this, your image, once you found this one, go ahead and click in that bottom right corner where the flag is, and just give that a little click to say, yep, I love this card. I want to be able to come back and use this often. So you click on that one and you save it. And then you can click on it again and make sure you've got that green box around the edge and add to canvas. Now, when that populates into your canvas, I'll give everybody a couple seconds, because sometimes my design space on my computer is slow, and it takes like an extra minute or two to get that into my screen. If you typed in the keyword, if you typed in the image number and it's saying image is not there, make sure you have that hashtag and make sure you're working case sensitive. So it's got to be the uppercase M and all that. Or you do a folded card, search for folded card, and then search for free, and that really narrows down your choices from there. Okay. Now, when this comes onto your canvas, notice that I can move it around together. And that's because when it's on my canvas, it's grouped together. So if everybody just wants to put their eyes on my canvas, I want to show you how I would resize this based on which type of card I wanted to make. So if I wanted to make that A1 size, which I think is 3.5 by 5 inches, I would put that on I'd put a square on my canvas, unlock the proportions, and change that to 3.5 by 5. And there we go. So then if I put that inside my card, I know if I resize my envelope properly, then my card will fit in my envelope. So I just keep my proportions locked on my envelope and card, and I keep everything together. And I just go over here and I resize my envelope and card so that it would fit the 3.5 by 5 inch card. So it would fit like this. And now my folded card will fit into the envelope. And if I want to make sure my folded card is the right size, I could just hold it over against the folded card that I have, and it is. So now I've resized my my card set to be the 3.5 by 5 inches. Okay, so that's just we're going to work with the size that it comes in onto your canvas for the class today. But I just wanted to show you for your future projects how to resize a card and to make sure that the envelope and the card are sized at the same rate. You just group them together on your layers panel. You just want to keep them grouped together, and then you keep your proportions locked and you can resize your card. Now that your card is brought in, we're going to, you have an envelope and you have the card and you have an insert for the card. So now we need to do is send that over to the Make It, send it over to your Cricut machine, and it will cut out for you your envelope and your card. Now, this is where it gets a little, not tricky, but if you're working with 8.5 by 11 paper, you want to go to the material size and change the material size to 8.5 by 11. And what that does, now it separates the envelope, the insert piece, and your card. So everything will fit on your 8.5 by 11 paper using the card size that we brought in. Now, one other and very important part here, if you're using pattern paper for your card, I want you to think about the position of the card on the paper. So the card here, as you see it on my screen, you could either open it from the long end and open it upwards. Let me stop share here, show you what I'm talking about. If you have your card on your screen, so the card on the screen, on my screen, looks like this. The way it's going to cut, let me double check that, make sure I'm saying that right. Okay, now the way it's going to cut on my screen is like this. Now, if you have a big 12 by 12 piece of paper or 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that is directional, you need to think about how you place your paper on your mat. So I would, if my card is cutting like this, I would either make it so that my card were to open like this way here, or I'd want it to open this way. And you can see I put my insert on the wrong side. So just think about how you want your card to open. If you want it to open this way, you need to put your pattern paper so that it will fall on your card the right way. So you want to put your pattern paper like that. If you are opening your card this way, you want to make sure if it's this one directional, you don't put it on your mat upside down, but you put it on right side up. Okay, now let me go back and share my screen. Yes, you can make your envelope. Someone's asking, can you make your envelope on the Joy? Absolutely, you can make your envelope on the Joy. You just need to resize it. So the Joy's cutting mat, the widest it goes is 4.5 inches. So in your canvas, you just would select your card and your envelope. And here where the height is at 7.701, you would just change that to 4.5, and then it should cut on your Joy. If you change it to Joy and you get an error message, you'll get an error message on the score line because you don't have a scoring tool with the Joy. I'll show you how to score manually. So you could just turn those off and then cut that out of the Joy. Just like that. Which that's cute. That'd be a cute little card. Let me get mine back to my right size here. Oh, I've got the wrong machine, that's why. And I'm using an Explore 3. Okay, so then when I go to my Make It, everything comes back as everything comes back 12 by 12. I've got my my envelope with my little insert piece on the same mat, and then my folded card on the same mat. So if you're ready, we're going to go ahead and hit continue. And it's going to hook up to my machine. And I'm using 65-pound cardstock. So I want to choose 65-pound cardstock. I want to make sure that I have my stylus and my cutting blade in my machine. I'll show you that in a second. And then my light is flashing, ready to go. So let me go ahead and stop sharing this and convert it over to my, my overhead here. There we go. All right. And just give me one moment here. Okay, so for our first card, we can go ahead and cut it out this way. And then I'm going to show you, we'll go back in and I'll show you how to get the insert for the envelope. Great question, Candy. Can you tell the weight of your cardstock? It's if you work with cardstock a lot, you'll be able to feel the weight, and you'll just kind of get the feeling of, oh yeah, this is a 65-pound, this is an 80-pound. A lot of times, it may say it on the bottom if your pattern paper has printing on it. It might say the weight on the bottom of it. This one does not. Looking to see, I don't see it on there. So I don't see it on here. Most usually, so this is a 65-pound cardstock that I have, this green one. And if you hold it in your hand, it's a little bit more flimsy. It's hard for me to show you. It's a little bit more flimsy, like it easily bends and curves this way, like it curves that way. If I take an 80-pound cardstock, it really doesn't curve. Let me get a different color so you can see. The thing I have on my cardstock behind me. All right, so this one is an 80-pound cardstock and it doesn't curve. It like holds itself up straight. This one is a 65-pound cardstock and it curves. And that's just because it's a lighter weight cardstock. So I can feel the difference between the 80 and the 65. It also, in my hand when I hold it, it's really hard to show. The 65-pound just curves easier than your 80-pound. Like I'm actually pushing these curved now, but it just curves. If you've got 65-pound, it's thinner, it's easy to manipulate. Your 85-pound, you really have to like give it a good push to get it to give a curve. I don't know if that answers that question enough, but it's just when you play a lot with cardstock, you get to know the difference of the papers. So I pulled out a bunch of colors to work with today, and I think I'll do this one. Oh, here's a cute one. So this is going to be my card. This will be my envelope, and then I have another piece to work as an insert. So let me move this out of the way. So right now we're just going to do the card and the envelope to get started. And I like to use my blue cutting mat. Actually, I have two today. So I'll put my first on my cutting mat. Now, the first thing I'm going to cut, I'm going to go back to my design space and make sure I'm looking at it. So the first part I'm going to cut is my envelope. So that will be my solid color here. So I'll put my solid color onto my mat. And I like to I usually have my brayer, and I bray my cardstock down because you don't want your cardstock to move around on you. So I am using 8.5 by 11. So my envelope and insert will cut out on the same one. So go ahead and we're going to pop that in. And the fun thing is, each time we make a card, hopefully we'll get 3 cards made, and each time we're going to do something different. So this is the first one. It's our basic one. I don't have my stylus in my machine, so this is my stylus I'll be using. Again, if you're on a maker, you can use your scoring wheel. which will look like, which would be one of these. Let me see, I think this is it. You would use your scoring wheel. I can't tell which one this one is, but it would look like this. And you would put it in your, where your tool is, it would go in clamp B. But you can use a stylus in either a maker or an explorer. So that works both ways. And while that's working, I'm going to get my second cardstock set up for my card. Now this one could go any direction, so I don't have to worry about that. And this one, the donuts are all have their little smiling faces up. So this is the upright of my card, and my card is going to cut out. Let's look. I gotta look back at. Okay. Now my card is going to cut out. So my card is going to cut out to fold like this way. So I'm okay. So I'm going to put this right on my blue mat again and use my brayer and hold that down. Now, I am using 2 mats because class. So I'm just going to be rotating them back and forth, and I'll slide that out of the way. When you take your paper off of your mat, you really want to make sure that you hold your mat back and curl your mat back and take your cardstock off of your mat. Really, you're removing your mat from your cardstock. If you choose not to do it this way, your cardstock will curl. And I did it in a rush on this one, and I've been trying to get it to lay flat ever since. But this one I peeled off properly, and you can see like it's a nice normal card. This one I did in a rush and I wasn't paying attention. I just peeled it off my blue thing. So you do want to make sure to always flip your mat over, get a little piece of your cardstock, and walk your mat off of your cardstock. And I just run my hand down and make sure it comes off nice and evenly as I'm doing it. And there we go. So there's that. And then from there, I just want to show you how to assemble it. So I take my card. So this is our first one, and it's just going to be a really fun, simple, basic envelope and card. Now, if this is all you want to do, this is where you'd stop. I'm going to show you though, next we're going to add an address. I'll show you how to address your envelope. And then the third card, I'll show you how to do an insert that you can add to your envelopes. So once you've done your card, you will have, sorry, if you're on like a Cricut Joy, or you don't have a scoring tool to work with, I want to show you, you can use your mat and flip your mat over so you don't have your sticky side up. I put my cover back on, I put that down. Now I take my envelope, and you can use, I like to use the back side of my weeding tool. So anything that's like soft, you can use and run that right along the line there. And what that does is it gives you a really nice scored line. So you just go on each edge where your score line should be, and you run that on there. Now, if you don't know where your score line should be, you could cheat and put a pen there and run your score line with a pen. But as long as you can see where your design kind of curves a bit, you'll be able to, where your score line should be, you'll be able to draw those score lines, and that just tells you where to fold your project. I'm going to fold this one along here. Now, at this point, you can use your Zig 2-way glue pen, you could use your glue stick, or you could use your tape runner to apply a little bit of adhesive onto your envelope to glue it down. Now, I will tell you that the one thing to note on this envelope, if you just run a thick line of double-sided tape or something here. And when you fold it up, your insert might get, your sticky might not be covered by the insert. So what I like to do is, I do prefer to do my tape on here because, again, if you fold it up and you put your tape on the outside piece here, the flap doesn't completely come to the edge. So I do like to put my adhesive on this side, and I just kind of do it half on, half off. So I take a piece of scrap paper and I just put it on half on and half off, and then I just close that up that way. And this is just an old tape runner. You can use double-sided tape. You can use your glue stick, anything like that. So there's my envelope. And then I have my card. So I just fold my card in half, making sure my design is going the right way. So I just fold it like that. And then I just come back in and I put adhesive on the back of my insert. Now you could write your note on here first. Like if you're having your kids write thank you notes or something like that, they could just write on here. And that way that gives you room to make mistakes if you need to. And then you just put this back into the center of your card. Like that. And now you've got an envelope with a card made, ready to go. Pretty cute. And you can take your leftovers if you wanted to, and like your scrap paper, because I do have a 12 by 12 and I have some left over here. So I could add a little design to my envelope or a little gift tag if I were making a gift for somebody, and make this as a whole little gift set. But that's our first one. And that's the basic, that's your basic card set. Now I did kind of get a little rough cut there. So I have a little fridge there, a fray there. I'm just going to go back in with my scissors and fix that. Okay, so that is card number 1. Now, the next card we're going to do, I'm going to show you. How's everybody doing on that one? Are we doing well? Okay, is everyone ready to, I wish I could see we're catching up. All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Somebody else says Tammy's doing well. Yes, easy to follow along. Card 1 is done. Good job, Carol. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Jetta says I'm lost. If you get behind or you're feeling lost, let us know in the Q&A. Hey, I missed this step, or hey, I'm having trouble with this. And that's what our chat masters are there. They're there to help you make sure you're working and you're you don't get lost. This class is being recorded. So if you are a little bit overwhelmed, if you're a beginner and you're just getting started, feel free just to go, you know what, I think I'm just going to watch. And then when I get the recording, I'm going to do it again. But we're going to make the same card all over again. I just encourage everybody, don't give up. Like if you give up, you won't learn. So keep working at it, keep progressing, and keep learning as we're going along. So we're just building on a basic card. And now I'm going to teach you how to add an address to the envelope. So I'm going to go back in and share my screen, share my design space again. Okay, everyone's doing great. Yes, do not give up. I just want to encourage everybody, do not give up. Okay, and let's see. So I'm done with this. Elizabeth asking, I got lost on the scoring tool. I don't have a wheel, but how do you change it in the direction so when you load, it does not say it is missing a scoring wheel? Okay, so if that happens, if you're on a Maker. So the Maker has more tools than an Explorer, and the Maker has the scoring wheel, which does what a stylus does and more. So if I were to be on a Maker machine and I were to make my card, when I get to the selecting my materials and right before I send it to my machine, oh, it might not let me do it because I don't have my Maker hooked up.
Coach Kesley, if you're okay with it, I could go hook mine up real quick and share the screen.
Yes, that'd be great.
Give
Or
me-
do you just want to walk them through it so everyone can hear it?
Sure. Okay, everyone. So when you get to the screen where Coach Kesley is, and it will show you, if you can choose your machine, Kesley, it will show you the tools that you're using. If you're using the stylus, if you're using the pen, and if you're using the blade. Now, over to the right, when you're using a Maker or a Maker 3, in that little box there, you'll see in green where it says Edit Tools. And if you click that, you are able to choose Scoring Stylus and apply it. So if anybody needs me to repeat that, then let me know in the Q&A.
So you just, it'll be right here where it says Edit Tools, right?
Yep, right there. And then when that will pop up, a little pop-up box will come up and you will have the option to change it to the scoring stylus from the wheel.
Yep. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That question does come up a couple of times in classes, especially when we're using the scoring tool. So it's good to learn something new. Okay. So now we're on to addressing the envelope. Now for this, all we need to do, I make it sound so easy. All you need to do is add a text box. So the first step is to go to your design panel, select the icon that says text, and a text box will appear. Now, there is an update being rolled out. So some of you may have the update. I do not. I think it's 7.3 is the version. So some of you may have it look a little bit differently. You may just be able to start typing the letters out and it'll show up. So if you put your name here, so let's say I were going to be sending myself a card. And I don't want to write in my whole address since this is being recorded and who knows. So I'll just put Main Street. But you can write in like a parent's address or something like that. I know my grandmother would love to get these cards. And you just type in your address. Now, the next step, once you have your address typed in, is changing the font to a writing font so your pen can write the card. So from here, you just go ahead and click in the font drop-down menu. We're going to go to filters, and you want to change the filter to a writing tool. Now, what that does is it will show only the fonts that are available that have a writing style with them. I do like to keep the current fonts checked if I want it to look cursive-y. If you just want it to be, like a regular box type of font, you can turn that off and then you might get some more font choices. And then you can just choose whichever type of font you want to use. So this bright Christmas font is a nice, easy font to use. And it's a writing style font, and it should change that. There we go. Now it's a writing font. And my layers panel says that I need to have a pen, and I'll put that in my machine. Now my envelope, how do I get this to position itself on my envelope? Well, first of all, this short little piece here, this is the top flap of your envelope. So if I were to put this on my card here, that would be okay, but it wouldn't be like a traditional address on an envelope. So to do that, you just need to grab the rotating icon here on the upper right corner, rotate your box, your text box around so that the top of your letters will line up with the top flap of the card. And then you can just change your size and get that right on your envelope. And now that's where I want my font to appear on my envelope. Now, this last part is an important step. This step tells you, your computer, your software, this step makes your software tell your cutting machine exactly where this is going to show up. And to do that, I just have to attach the writing to the envelope. So I select the writing, the text layer, and then I select only the card layer. So to do that on my desktop, I hold the shift key, I come to the layers panel, I select the envelope. So now I just have in my layers panel the text layer and my envelope layer, and I select attach. Now when I send that to my machine, oops, I didn't mean to attach everything. It attached it all. Let me see, I may have to ungroup before I can attach. Let me ungroup my images, and I'll just grab my envelope and my stylus. Yeah, I need to attach all these together. So grab your text, grab your envelope, and attach. There we go. Now that is all attached together. When I send it to my prepare screen, I have my 12 by 12 piece of cardstock, which has my envelope, my insert on it, and then my decorative card on the next envelope. And I'm ready to go. Now let me show you what would happen if I didn't attach it. So if I detach it and then I send it to my prepare screen, you'll find that the text shows up on its own mat and not on my envelope. Now I could move that onto the envelope, but then I still, is it lined up perfectly? Is it right in the center? Who knows? So I like to go back to my canvas, select the envelope and my text, and then select attach and go from there. So then I say, make it, and it's right there. And then when I go to continue, it tells me asks me what material am I using. So I'm again using a light cardstock. I want to remember that setting. And it tells me that I need to load the scoring stylus and the fine point blade, but it also says coming up the midnight 0.4 pen. So you'll keep your eye on this screen and it will walk you through when to add in your pen. If you fold on the score lines, won't the address be on the inside of the envelope? Your score lines, I fold my score lines either way. I fold them inside or outside. So it works either way. So on this one, I would fold my score lines to the inside. I'd put my address on the outside and fold to the inside, but that's a really great question. Okay, so now let me stop sharing this and I'm going to go to my overhead camera and we're ready for card number 2. Now, I don't know how many of you are on social media and if you've joined the Cricut Facebook page, but that is a great resource for any questions you have as you're crafting along. If you're trying to figure something out, that is a great resource to have. And then it's also a fantastic resource. I have these all planned out. Can you believe it? I messed them up. It's a fantastic resource for also, what else is it a fantastic resource for? It's a fantastic resource. Oh, just to share what you've created. So when you've made something, you can go into the group and share what you've made. So, which is always fun. I love to see what people are what people have been making. So I'm going to use this red, this bright red for my envelope. And for the card, I'm going to be using a very, very directional design. I cannot get my text box to rotate. If you can't get your text box to rotate, you may need to just go to the edit bar and click on the rotate icon on the edit bar. I changed my mind. I'm going to use the yellow. Use the rotate bar in the edit portion. And then that will rotate it, or you can just click on it and use the little C and rotate it from there. Keep your questions coming. Which font are you using? I think I used a font called BFC Christmas is the font I used. I still need to fold my first envelope and card. Didn't address it yet. Gina, don't worry. You may be at a different point. You may want to set aside the folding so that you can do the address portion of it. And that way, if you have any questions during class, you can ask. So I'm using my 0.5 black tip. I just picked up my stylus. So it did my stylus, and now I'm putting in my pen. So it stopped. My machine stopped and was like, hey, you need to put your pen in. Sorry, I didn't realize you guys couldn't see that. So it stopped, and I opened up clamp A. I took my stylus out, and now I'm putting my pen in clamp A. Now I do have the cap on my pen so I don't lose it, because I lose things roll around. So now it's just starting to do it. I'm adding, Carol, that's a good suggestion. Carol's adding her address, maybe like as a return address, because you don't know who the recipient will be. And that's a great suggestion. You can also address it to yourself and send yourself a letter and see when it comes. I should have given you all my address so you could send me your letters. So Shahana is saying, I may have missed it. I have a maker, but I don't have a scoring stylus or wheel. Can I still make the project? Absolutely. All you need to do is add the scoring. What the scoring does is it really just makes it easier to fold whatever you're folding, whether it's a card or you're making some other 3D type of design. So the scoring lines make it easy to score, to fold those lines. So I'll show you again on this how I added my scoring lines. So now it's cutting. I sometimes do wish there was a pencil that you could use so you could draw your score lines and then know where to put them exactly. Okay, and then, oops. It stopped on me. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. Now let me put my card in. So again, don't forget, you want to turn this upside down to cut out your design. To take your design off your paper, we want to turn your design upside down like this and remove the mat from the cardstock, and that way your cardstock will not curl. So I'm going to put my design, my cardstock back on my mat here. And you know, it's so funny. I have used a Cricut for years and never used a brayer tool. And then I got one and I started using it, and it was a game changer for me. It made a difference, which is silly. All right, I'm going to show you how I fold that in just a second when this one's through cutting. So keep your questions coming. What is the number of projects? We're going to make 3 projects. So the first one was just the basic card, same card. The second one, we added the address to the card. And then the third one, oh, I didn't put my, oops, I forgot to put my scoring stylus in, so I drew my line. Kind of a bummer. All right, let me take my pen out. So we're gonna do 3 of these. Okay, let me put my scoring stylus back in so I don't do that again. All right, and I'll unload it. I just love these little teacups. Aren't they cute? I'm ready for a tea party. Okay, so if you were wondering about how to go about getting your design scored, if you didn't have a stylus to do that with, all you need to do is really you can do it with a credit card, or you can do it with, I use the back of my weeding tool. And what I do is I take my element, so in this case, my card, and I take my mat and I put my card along the edge of the mat where the fold line will be. So unfortunately, I kept my pen in with my scoring instead of putting my scoring for my card. So I have my pen line here. And I just take the soft back edge of my weeding tool and I just run that down along the line where the scoring line would be. And then I just fold that in half. And I don't really go too particular about if I have the scoring line on one side or the other. So it's okay to me that the scoring line's not like folded one way or another. I know for some projects it makes a difference. If you're making like a big project, it does make a difference which way the scoring line goes. But for a card and envelope, it doesn't make a difference. So now we just put the insert on our card. And so our card number 2 is complete. And then we just fold our envelope. And so my address is on the back side of the envelope. And I'm just going to fold my lines in like this. And again, I will add my adhesive to my flap. This is my scrap paper here, so I'm just going to go and add my adhesive on my flap one way and my adhesive on a flap there. And then we just kind of go like this and fold that up. And now my card number 2 with the address is complete. And there's my address on the back side. All right.
Coach Kesley, I just want to interject for a second. We have a couple people who are raising their hands. Guys, we don't use the raise hand feature. So if you could please put your questions in Q&A so we can answer them for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, we want to get to your, we really want to make sure we get to your questions. So that's great. Legina, how do you change the size of the font? Ooh, that's a good question. Let me share my screen again and I'll show you how to do that. There we go. Okay. So if I wanted to change the size of my font, I would just go back to my design. I'd have to detach it. So I can just take my font. So one way is to go into the font edit bar here and change your font size, or just use the arrow and change your font size that way, which is, I think what I did is I just used my arrow to change my font size like that. Okay, now, as far as time goes, we have about 15 minutes left in the class. And the last part of the class is, oops, let me change my camera here. So the last part of the class is adding that insert. I have this already done as a project for in my design space that we're going to share with you. So you can just grab the project and cut it out. But I want to show you how I did it. It's a multi-step thing. So I'm going to show you how I did it. This is being recorded, so you'll get the recording to try it and work it out on your own time, because it's something I think that you do need to pause and play with, because if you're a beginner, it's a little bit, this is an advanced level skill, but I want to show it to you. And in the chat, we'll pop the project in there, and I'll just wait just a second for that to go in there. So everyone has that one. When I attach my text to the envelope, it automatically changes it to cut instead of pen. How do I fix this? So it shouldn't change the operation when you do attach. So I would first make sure that you have it set to a writing font, and that you've got it set to the basic operation is a writing style. Okay, let me just find that for you. Go to my projects. So like I said, I've got this already set up as a project, and we'll pop that in there for everybody. If you want to, I'm going to show you how to, you just would click on the link. I just put the link in the chat. And when you click on the link, it opens up your, what does it open? It opens it up into your Safari or Chrome, whatever you use. And then you just need to click open in app and agree to the terms. And it will, oh, you don't even have to agree to the terms anymore. And it opens it right into your design space. So let me show everybody how that works, because that's kind of a cool thing. Just got to close out a couple of my things here. All right. Sorry, here we go. Okay. So let me, let me go here, and I'm going to share my screen. And what I'm going to, okay, so let's see, I'll share my screen. I think if I share my whole screen, you'll see everything. All right, so you should see everything that I have. Okay, so I just want to show you. I went to the chat and I added the link in the chat. When you click on it, it takes you to your Safari. I use Safari, takes me here, and I just click on open in app, and it will open it in my design space. So it opens right here in my design space, and then you can click on customize, and it will open up the project. There we are. So I'm opening up the project, takes a minute, and here's the project. Here's the insert right there. So this is the finished insert of the envelope that I made. Now, you guys are more than welcome to I would just do it from the project link we shared, do the insert from the project link. But I'm going to show you how I did that. So if you want to just kind of sit back and watch as I walk you through those steps, that's a great idea. That's what I would do. So the first thing is I duplicated my envelope so that I had more than one envelope. I didn't mess up my regular envelope. So I duplicated my envelope. Then on a desktop or laptop, there's a feature called offset, and we have an entire class dedicated just to this feature. If you're on a tablet device, you don't have this feature, but you can use a desktop to create the offset and then cut from a tablet device. So I did a negative offset at negative 0.125. And I brought that inside my envelope, and I applied that to my card. Then I added a rectangle shape, a square shape, that I turned off the proportions And I made this shape long enough to go from a corner of the offset to the other corner of the offset. So I'm cutting it from here to here, and I'm just cutting it in a little bit like that. See if I go up. No, I want to go like this. So I'm just going to cut it just like that, a hair in like that. All right, now the reason I'm doing that is you'll see that my little inset piece that I made sits inside the envelope. So I need to kind of cut away the flaps. So I take my rectangle and I duplicate my rectangle and I bring it down here. Now I could also do some slicing and that would, I mean, some contouring, and that would help too. But this is the way I did it. So I took the first rectangle and the second rectangle, and I did a weld on those shapes so that they would, so that they would be one shape, because you can only slice with two shapes, two layers. So I took these two rectangles, I did a weld, and then I made them one layer. Then I took my second card and let me grab my second card. Nope, I want the card. Grab my card and what those two rectangles I welded, and I want to slice those. So because you can only slice two layers. And then what that did is I deleted my extra layers here. So delete, delete, delete. And I still have this one. So now you can see my, my envelope here matches the inside of the envelope. The top matches the side edges there. I go to the black where I did my offset, and I'm going to contour out all the extra pieces that I don't need. So now I just have my top piece and my envelope. And I'm going to now take these two, and I need to take the rectangle out. I'm going to slice that piece there. But before I do that, I'm going to get rid of this curve part around the envelope edge. So I'll take the envelope piece and my offset piece. I'm going to slice again. And that curve part here, I need to get rid of that, which I can't quite do yet, can I? Okay, can't quite get that off of there. But so what I'll do now is you'll see, oops, let me delete that. So what I need to do is merge this piece onto the inside of this piece and get rid of this piece here. Lots of this pieces and that pieces. So I'm going to just do another rectangle shape, and I'll do another slice here and slice this off. So I'll just go down this way and I'll grab that and I'll slice again. And if you have not used slice yet, I really want to encourage you to use slice and learn how to work with slice, because you can create shapes, your own shapes and things like that using slice, which I know this looks crazy and a lot of work, but this is how you make it work in Design Space. Let's see if that worked. Yep. Okay. So now I have, this is the bottom part of my envelope, and this is the top part of my envelope here. And I just need to slice this so that it will fit inside the envelope here. So I'm going to add another shape, another rectangle, and I'll go like this, and we'll kind of go like that. So a lot of this is and that's, and then I'm going to slice again. And then I just delete the pieces I no longer need, those pieces. And then I want to weld my rectangle here with my rectangle there. I'm going to merge those together and with weld. Yes, Teresa, I said your name wrong. I'm sorry. It is a lot of steps, and that's why I shared the project already done with you. So you didn't have to worry about following this craziness, but I wanted you to see how I created the insert for my envelope. And if anybody wants to, once you get the recording, to watch this back and do it step by step, you have the steps to do it. And then the last bit that I needed to do is add that score line onto my inset piece. So I go back to shapes. I pick out the score line, and there's my score line, and the length of my score line is 6.23. And then I just need to put that along the lip of the envelope there, so it will score right along the same line as that one. And I attach these together. Attach that together like that. There we go. All right, so that's the inset for my envelope. But like I said, if you use my project, I've already got that made for you, so you don't have to go through all that rigmarole of making that. I've already got it in there for you. And if you're trying to find the project, what you need to do is go to your home screen and just do a keyword search. And if you search for my name, Kesley, Kesley, and down at the bottom, I'm a community member. And my, if anybody was trying to find that, I see a problem. Let me make sure I have that shared out for everybody. Edit project details. And you can share any of your projects. Oh, anybody with the link has it. You can share any project you make, or you can keep it private. It is totally up to you what you want to do. All right, let me go back and find me again, and we'll do this. I'll show you again. Home, type in my name, Kesley. There's the profile, and there's my shared project right there. And then you can just click on make it, and it will take you to the prepare screen. We'll just do it right from here and replace what's on my canvas. Okay, so now here's my finished screen, and I can just make one more card. I have the envelope, I have the insert, and I have the card, the insert piece of the card, and the card itself. That makes sense. So my envelope with the card insert, the insert piece to the envelope, and then the card itself. So I just go to continue. And Jennifer, you'll see the finished card here. We'll make one more card. I'm going to choose the same material settings, and I'm ready to go. So let me just change that one more time. What is the reason for the insert? Good question, Carol. Why would you want to create more work for yourself? The reason for the insert is to add another layer of decoration to a card. So our envelopes here, all the ones the first two we've made have no insert to them. The ones I made in preparation for the class all have an insert that coordinates with the card. So it just gives it a little bit more design, a little bit more pizzazz, a little bit more fun. So when somebody opens the card, it's a little bit of an extra surprise inside the card as well. Okay, so let me go back here and see my card steps. Okay, so my first part is the envelope and the card, which I'm going to do out of red for my envelope and my insert. And my insert piece here. So I've got my stylus in, very good. My insert piece is going to be the red there, or the polka dot. I think the red's cute. Maybe I should do it like this. I like the red. Okay, so we're going to just cut this out. So if everyone's still cutting, cut along with me. And I'll go back and answer questions. So we have a couple more minutes. While this is cutting, I'll answer any questions. what is the size and weight of the cardstock being used for the cards? So I'm using a 65-pound cardstock, and it's 12 by 12. You can do this on 8.5 by 11. I just happen to have a 12 by 12 size is what I have. Now, just so you guys know, this is our first version of this class, so we're super excited to bring this class to you. Our stationery set class will be the same project each time, so you'll get, if any of this was confusing, you can come back and take the class again. I invite you to do that. And we also send out a survey, and we'll put a link to the survey in the chat. So I really encourage everyone to go into the chat and grab the survey link. Let us know how you like the class. If you tell a friend about the class, or if you'd even take the class again, that feedback is so great. And it's a great spot for you to tell Cricut what other types of classes you'd like to see, or anything like that. So please do take a moment and fill that out. And then I want to encourage everyone to join us in the Facebook group. It's Cricut Official. The Facebook group is called Cricut Official, and it really is a neat place. You may just kind of hang out and lurk for a while, but you'll see it's so friendly, and then start posting your projects. And if you post in there and tag me from the class today, I would love to see your finished cards and what you did, and you'll inspire other people to keep making and crafting. So I really want to encourage everyone to jump in there and do that. Grab the links we put in the chat for you, anything like that. Do you usually use heavy cardstock when cutting? What do you recommend? To be honest with you, Debbie, that's a great question. What do I recommend? I find as a crafter, and many of you may feel the same way, that I tend to not only be a crafter, but a hoarder of craft supplies. So this has really been fun for me. I have had this pack of decorative cardstock for years, literally years, to do something with, because it was so cute. And I just was like, okay, I need something fun to make these cards with. And this just spoke to me. So I used what was in my stash. If I'm buying at a craft store for cards like this, I would definitely get a 65-pound weight. 80-pound weight works just as well. It's just a little bit heavier. And I find on the folds, the 65-pound is a bit easier to work with. So 65 to 80-pound, you'll be fine. Anything lighter, I think it gets a little bit too light, and it's a little bit harder to, it's flimsier. So I prefer to use something that's a little bit heavier. And how fun, oh my gosh, I just love this. So cute. This is, just in case, it may still be available. This paper is from Doodlebug Designs. And it was a whole set of cardstock that I had. Now I've made this card. I'm never going to mail it because it's just going to be too pretty to mail. So when I add an insert, let me walk you through adding that last piece of the insert to your project. So the insert has a folded line on it as well. A little harder to see it. So you just fold along that line there. And give yourself a nice crease. And then when you're folding up your envelope, same thing. You can fold on those score lines here.
Hey, Kesley, I just want to interject really quickly. We had a great question from Sherry. She said, is there any way to bypass the scoring part because she has a Maker 3 and it won't let her move on because she doesn't have a scoring tool?
So that's a good question. What I do is the machine doesn't know if the scoring tool, if your stylus is in the machine or not. As you saw, I accidentally scored one with a pen. So you could just let it run that step without having the scoring stylus in there. But what you do need to make sure is that you change it, if on a maker, you change it to the stylus and not the wheel, because the wheel is the same as the cut. Or sometimes, like if I've made a mistake and if I've forgot to put a pen in a project and I need to send it back through, before I unload the mat, I would put my pen in here and I would take my blade out, and then I would rerun the mat. So I'd hit the play again and it would do it, but it actually wouldn't cut it because I don't have my blade in there. So you can run it without an actual blade in the machine. Okay, now for this last piece, your insert piece, I put a bunch of tape on the top of it, and then I line it up on the fold line because it can get a little thick on the fold line. And then I just fold it down like that. I do not adhere the bottom flap. And the reason I don't is if you adhere both sides down, you'll hear it crunching, and it gets a little heavy. So I don't actually adhere both sides. I just adhere the top flap part down. And then I put that on there like that. And then there's this, right, like that. And somebody else was asking how to get to the project. So I'm going to show you how to do that again. But there's my card and there's my flap. So for those that were wondering, like, isn't that so much cuter just to add that little piece on there? I love it. Okay. Which type of paper, Jalen, are you using? That is it, if it's Cricut paper, if it's the pattern paper from Cricut, you can use that in the maker and the any of the machines, you can use that one. Okay, so somebody asked a question is can I show how to get to my project again? So let me go back and share my screen here. Okay. And okay, so when you go into, right, Ravine, it adds a nice touch. I love it. When you go into your design space and you go to your home screen, you can find any crafter, anybody with a profile in Design Space by doing a search with their name. Fortunately, my name is pretty unusual. So you can do a search for Kesley Anderson. And yeah, just do Kesley Anderson. Thank you. It's old Disney paper. Oh yeah, you can use that in your maker for sure. Okay, so Kesley Anderson, and then you do a search. And some of my projects that I've uploaded or things that I've shared out there that have my name in it will show up. And then if you go down to the bottom to community members, you'll see my little profile there. And you click on that. And here's my profile here. And any of the projects that I've shared out, I have to share my shirt, my lucky shirt I made. Any of my projects that I've made are here, and you can just click on a project and you can customize the project or just make it as is. Either way, you can do that. Can you have too deep of a cut and cut the mat if you don't know what type of cardstock to select? Anita, that's a really good question. You can't actually, you can cut into your mats. In fact, I have one of those blue mats I was using. I cut the same shape over and over and over and over and over again. So it does have a little bit of a, like a little bit of a worn spot to it, but I still use it. It's fine. If you were to cut like leather on, if you were to do a leather setting on your light grip mat here, then you may cut through the mat. I've seen it happen, but just with, if you have like 80-pound cardstock weight and you're cutting 65-pound, you're not going to cut through the mat. You may leave a little mark, but you won't cut through the mat and you'll still be able to use the mat just fine. No problem. Were there any other questions that I didn't get to, my wonderful chat masters?
I think you covered everything, Kesley.
All right, guys. Well, I can't wait to see what you create. Tag us in your if you post your creations in the Facebook group. And honestly, be a lurker over there. Check out what people are making. You'll be amazed. You'll be like, I can never do that. And then in a month, you'll be whipping out all kinds of things. So guys, thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to check out our other classes. We have an offset class coming up this week and a 102 class coming up. So if like attach and weld and slice, all that crazy stuff I was doing at the end there, if any of that is new to you, please join in and we'll go over that class. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great afternoon.